it. I'll post it off of YouTube. We are live. You know what I really have to do is get on here and set up a preview thing for YouTube when it goes live, so I can actually get live on here beforehand, set everything up, as opposed to going on and doing it like this. I'm very ineffective. I'm a noob.
All in good time.
Yep, one thing at a time. I do have a kind of cool intro now, right?
Yeah, the intro is sick.
Actually, one guy in the room is going to do some production stuff and editing for me, and he came up and he did all that. So we're now just waiting for people to come on, post it in there.
Okay, sweet, and I can see the YouTube chat via our screen share. That's helpful.
Hey, how's it going? What's going on, guys?
Con Dyer, what's up?
I brought on a guest host to make everything better. This is going to be the new CeeTee has been roped in to the nightly hosting show.
Between the two of us, we have a full beard.
Exactly. Dude, I say I cannot because I haven't committed to it, grow a full mustache. It's like, I look like a pedophile. It's like if I grow this like thin and kind of just like, you know, like thinned out, and I just look like a 90s villain pedophile. But it's like here is like thick, can be thick, and it can grow out and look all scrappy. But, oh man, it's a rough life sometimes.
It suits you. It's not for the stash life is not for everyone.
No. There's only a select few that can do the stats life. Can y'all hear CeeTee okay? All right, awesome. So we've got the main place for y'all to talk would be YouTube if possible. However, we are watching Discord. Both CeeTee and I can see it. Sorry for the late start. It took us a little bit to get it up. I've got my kids. If they wake up, I have to run upstairs and grab them, or at least put them down so, you know, CeeTee will be talking and take over. We're going to have, you know, an interesting show tonight. We'll kind of see where it goes. We'll go ahead and get started, and we'll see where the show goes. CeeTee is going to answer some questions. We'll both take questions if you have any. We'll go over the week, our thoughts on the week, some setup tips and tricks, things that we do to kind of, I'd say, start our day, like how we get started, things we do to stay mentally clear, and then we'll take your thoughts from you guys and anything else you have for us. So with all that, our normal disclaimer: we're not experts. We're not offering investment advice, stock choices, anything like that. We're just here to entertain, to be with you guys. So I'm Gator, and welcome to the swamp. So my guest host tonight, and I think we're actually going to be doing not a lot, but occasional shows together. He is a member of the rotation crew in Discord. If you're in there with us and you chat with us, and I'm going to give him a chance now to kind of give his history of trading, how he got into trading, his background, how he got to where we came from, most of us in the Discord, the Newsbeat live room, and where he's at now. So CeeTee, floor is yours, good sir.
Thanks for the intro there, Gator. So I actually am relatively new to trading. Started about 2 years ago in the T3 room. I read a couple like academic textbooks about trading before I got into it, and I was fortunate enough to join the T3 room that I met Gator in, which was an amazing place to learn how to do technical scalping. Spent about 8 months learning, trading very small tiers, just trying to preserve my capital and get consistent. And after about 8 months of practice, I started tearing up, and everything just snowballed from there. So Gator and I guess, have been probably trading together for 2 years now, the whole time that I was in the T3 room. We're now hanging out in the Discord room every day, making things happen, printing that paper. And I guess
Yeah.
that's the long and the short of it. Get the more the short of it, really.
Trying to print the paper, that is.
Word.
Read the
But
question before giving the answer. What do you mean, Paul? But
yeah, can I get questions in advance, Gator?
yes, please, please. I wish, dude, I wish I was that organized. You know how long? I think we spent 2 hours, guys, trying to get this thing because, like, I'm new to broadcasting, so trying to get OBS set up and Skype working, and so I could overlay everything right. You know what's funny though, man, is that me and you started at the exact probably same time. Like, I started 2 years ago, roughly, like the start of COVID. So it's almost been 2 years. It was probably March of 20 was when I started in Melnick's room. And before that, I had very little experience. It was like not, I mean, I've talked about it before, but it was like not a lot. It was like, the stock market, I bought this and that. And, oh, penny stocks. And, oh, you just buy this and one day it's worth and then it doesn't ever get worth that. And you're like, oh, that's not how that works. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think I was in the room maybe December prior to that, so just a few months earlier than you, but I
mm,
was just completely no experience whatsoever. So, really, I couldn't think of a better place to learn how to trade. And I know so many people have horror stories about trading groups that they've been involved with and all sorts of PTSD from that. So, I feel very fortunate to have learned from the legendary Mark Melnick, and
mm.
I think he put us both on a good path.
I think so too. I think without him, I know I wouldn't be here. And being able to learn and trade without that toxicity is just key. So one of my kids decided that he wants to scream as soon as the stream starts because that's what kids do. So I know that a few people, and I'll jump over to your thing while I run up and calm him down, and I'll move my camera out of the way. But a few people had asked CT, and he can get into it, and then we'll come back. Let me see if he. Oh, he stopped. So you can
I'm
tell.
sure, like, at some point my dogs are going to want to go out, so we can
Yeah,
take turns, like, running off to deal with household
there you
duties.
go. But first, a cheers to the week before if he starts back up again, I'll go. So cheers, guys, trading. I hope you didn't crash this week. You traded intelligently, traded smart, and printed that paper. So either way, I hope you're toxicity free going into the weekend.
Cheers, everyone.
So a few people had asked you some questions before we get into just different stuff or questions you guys have or psychological things pre-hand about your chart setups, how you look at levels. Because one thing you do really well in the chat room, and it's something I actually don't do well at, is you know where a lot of levels are at. And you're like, oh, hey, yesterday's high, yesterday's low, and you're kind of going through a lot of that. So if you could you take a little bit of time and talk about your kind of setup, what you do in the morning to get ready for the market, so maybe some of the lines that you mark on your chart, different stuff like that.
Yeah, so essentially, once I got a good grasp of, like, the technical aspects of trading using just the moving averages, price action, candlesticks, and whatnot, I started incorporating just simple things like the prior day's high and low, the open price, the close price, and whatnot. And it can be a little overwhelming, I think, for a new trader who is just trying to grasp the strategies and maybe just learn how to, successfully execute trades, read level two, and all that business. But I think once you have a good grasp of that, knowing what's going on broadly with the market and with the names you're trading can give you a little bit of an edge in knowing, conviction for scalps, knowing levels to watch for, resistance, support, and whatnot. And obviously, algo lines play into that, but what I'm mostly going to talk about is just daily levels like the open, the close, the prior day's high and low, and whatnot. So you can see me screen sharing here. This is a chart of the Qs here. So more or less every evening before I go to bed, after the market closes, I will go through the names we typically trade and just take a look and mark the prior day's high and lows. So I have a little color coding system for that, which I don't know, everyone's going to have their own preference or whatever. there's a lot of lines on my screen here. Obviously I can switch to just look at the candlestick chart with moving averages, but here you can see with my levels and whatnot. Excuse me. So you can see today I've got the prior day's high and low marked there. And what I would typically do, every night is I would decide whether these levels are important to me or not. And in this case, I'm probably just going to delete them. This level here is like a daily level. So I use this light blue color to denote any daily level that, might be interesting. So when you
So I
have like a,
will say well, yeah, okay, I can see your light blue level now. I couldn't see it for a second there. I can see it now.
okay, cool.
Sorry.
So just to give you, okay, so I'm also going to show you guys a cool little trick here for just marking levels real quick on your charts, which is if you're in TC, maybe you want to follow along here. So you left click on your mouse and you hit your space bar, and you can come down here to horizontal line and it'll snap to the bottom of that candle right there. So we can see, looking here, the low of that candle is 51.40, and over here we can see that's 51.40. Now once you've used your space bar to select that tool, every time you double click your space bar from now on, well, it's going to make that same tool, like the horizontal line. So now I can just double click and look at that. I just made a line right there. So I'm going to color code these. I typically use this lavender color and this, I don't know what this purple color is right here, just to denote the prior day's low and the highs right there. So great. Now I'm going to go on and, I'll do this for everything. I'll do this for the spies and whatnot. And so now once I've done this here, this is going to become a little bit more apparent why this is important. So now if we're, let's say, trading on a small time frame here, and we're super zoomed in here on a chart, and we're coming down here, oh, look at this, we're coming up on this level, which we would have never known this is the prior day's like low, if we were zoomed in on a 1-minute chart here, especially if you're trading, like how we are here with our watch list of 9 charts and then a focus of 5 different time frames here. So this is a way to keep track of levels. So when you're zoomed in doing scalping, when you're coming up on an important level, you're going to see it. So sounds really basic, and it is pretty basic, but it really is helpful, just as moving averages are helpful, as so they can provide resistance sometimes, and when you get through them, sometimes you'll get a big drop or an increase in volume, something of that nature. And I also just want to share when I'm actually scalping, that little trick I just showed you about doing a left click with a double click is a really fast way to keep track of levels. So Gator, can you move our pictures over to this side of the chart here for a moment?
I'll actually just move ours. There you go.
Okay, cool. So I don't know what it's so what we're going to do here is, like, a lot of times you'll hear me say, oh gee, we're breaking a 15-minute level. So let's say that we're on this candle here on Amazon. I don't know if you can see this candle. So boom, I just double clicked and there I added that level there. So now when we're up here on this 1-minute chart, I can see when we start to bust through it, what's going on. Oh, maybe I want to watch this 5-minute level here, so that when we come down through that. So this is just a really fast way to mark levels on various time frames on your chart, so that when you're zoomed in on that 1 minute, you can see, oh, this breakout has a potential of breaking through another relevant level. And so I'm adding these and deleting these from my charts all day long. Every time I see like an hourly level that looks important, great. Okay, this is the low of that hourly candle. Now when I'm zoomed in over here, it's easy to see where that was. So you can obviously remember these things and look at these numbers up here, but I just add these and remove these all day long. And anytime I see like a setup or an important level, I'm marking it, and that's incredibly helpful when it comes time to when you're just hyper focused on a 1 or 2-minute chart. It's important to keep track of those things. So moving back to the big picture, my daily charts, great. So um, I marked the highs and the lows, and you can see here I've got daily levels all marked up here in blue, like any kind of an important daily level. So again, like let's say we're running up and I just don't have time to keep checking back to my daily chart to see if we're approaching a level. Like, you do this every day, they're there when you need them, and you're not going to have to take time away from trading to spot them. So Uh, that's a real brief little overview there of how I keep track of all that stuff. And I think if you start tracking these things, you're going to find that price action really does react to these levels. And the more you have these on your chart and you watch them, the more you're going to learn how to incorporate these into your trading. Um, so that right there, and I don't know, are we going to see the opening and closing levels here? Which I know, Gator, you've started using those, I think, right?
Yep.
The chart settings. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. So
Because I
I'm going to go
even
into,
started using them for like, during the day when like there's hourly pivots that are setting up, or Geronimo's like, oh hey, this candle is setting up, or there's something there, or for A plus triggers, like if there's a big A plus trigger on a chart and I'm doing my nightly chart review. I don't do nightly chart reviews, but let's say I'm doing something like that. um, I could post like I was like, man, I could actually post this for where an A plus trigger is. So if I ever am looking and it looks like it's getting close on one of my charts, I just know instantly, oh hey, a horizontal white line or a horizontal this line means A plus trigger. Maybe I want to jump over to that chart. So I've started using them for things like that once I kind of realized that I wasn't, um, once I realized I was missing out on on using this tool.
yeah, and so it can, if you just do this every day and you make it part of your routine, you're gonna see these levels when you're caught up in the action. I mean, you can see here on Amazon, I've got bazillions of daily levels like marked up here. It would take forever to do this, but because I do it every day, it's really not too time consuming. And these levels are super helpful. Sometimes it'll give you conviction to hold a little bit longer on a scalp. Sometimes if it stalls at a level, you can know why it's stalling, and maybe that'll give you, tell you it's time to get out because maybe it's bottomed out, something of that nature. So that's a real quick recap of what I do there, and color coding them is a great is super helpful for me because obviously when you're zoomed in super close, I can know whenever I see this, this blue color, I know that's the bottom of the prior day. Whenever I see this purple color, it's the high of the prior day, and then whenever I see a blue, light blue line, I know that's a daily level that can either be support or resistance. Okay, so I've got a question here. My TMAT, when you mark the level with the horizontal line, does give you the exact price or the area? That it will give you the exact price. Something to remember in TC here. So if you can look at my chart here as I mark this up here. So this level here, want to keep track of that because, that's the next daily high after this right here, which is today. So I'm going to mark today's high by double clicking here, and it will snap to the high of that candle. And over here, you're going to see the exact price to the penny. So I'm going to go ahead and color code that. And the one nuance that I will share with you here is that if you're, like, let's say the wick is really close to the bottom of the candle, or if you have like an EMA, this will also snap to like EMAs and things. So if there's another level nearby and you're not sure if you snapped exactly where you need to be, just hold down on the candle and you can see that the high of this candle is 30.18 and 0 cents. And you can see that this is 30.18 and 0 cents. So once you get used to doing this, I can mark up 12 or 16 different names in 10 minutes at the end of the day. So all my charts are ready in the morning, and really think that it gives you time to look at what's happening with the broader market. And, it's real easy to come into the market as a scalper and just be hyper focused on small time frames. But the more you grow as a trader, the more you're going to want to know what's happening, like broadly with the names you're trading, because it gives you a better feel for how to play them, especially once you start looking at these levels and whatnot.
And what button again do you hit for the double? Like you're saying double click, I'm clicking on it.
So yeah, that's going to be you left click and then you hit your space bar, and then you can go down and select horizontal line, and you have to do that every morning one
Uh,
time.
that
And
won't.
after you do, and
I
after you
was
do that one
go.
time, every time you do a left click and a double click after that, so you double click your space bar, and it's going to use the same tool that whatever your most recent tool was.
I'll have to change my settings because mine rotates through my stocks when I hit spacebar because I have that watch list linked to the spacebar.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, maybe you'll find a different key that works for
Yeah,
it,
I
but
might just have to
I
change
mean,
it.
it's just stupid fast to like, especially like when you're looking at a 5-minute chart or something, and you're like, oh, I need to, I want to remember the top of this candle. Great, it's marked. Now you can go focus on other things, and when you come back, you know that level there, and you know what it's there for. Just super helpful stuff. And honestly, these little things that can free up your mind so you're not remembering numbers or trying to remember setups and stuff like that, they're there for you. So maybe it comes back to that level, maybe it doesn't. You can mark up all your charts with
Wait,
important levels, and when you focus in on a name, they're there for you.
I'll be right back, kid. Is fussing. So you've got it for a second. I'll put your picture back up really quick.
Cool. And for those of you who are on YouTube, big options in the Discord room is telling us that alternate or Alt plus H will do the same thing in TradingView. So if you're trying to mark horizontal ads in TradingView, you can do the same thing there. And you know, like I started using this just looking for like Mark fives or looking for 2 minute green takes reds and whatnot. And especially if you're tracking a lot of names, and once know the strats, and you're trying to you might mark up like 6 or 8 names, and maybe only 1 or 2 of them trigger. You got those levels. You got your 5 minute levels, your 15 minute levels, hourly levels. And then when you get in a scalp and it's starting to run, do I want to hold for the 5 minute break? Do I want to hold for the 15 minute break? It's just really helpful. And so oftentimes in Discord, you'll hear me calling out levels. It's because I've got my charts marked up. Blake, you would like me to share my layout. I can do that. If you're not running a massive monitor, you might find it difficult to use, but let me try to share that for you here. Like I've got the monitor or the screen I'm sharing is a 72-inch 4K monitor, so not sure how useful that'll be, but I am going to copy and paste it into Discord for you here. Gator, do you want to, I guess if you want to copy that into YouTube chat, in case anybody wants to use that, they're free to use that. It's probably going to be impossibly small on a regular size monitor, but maybe you can find some use for it.
I'll post it in the comment. I'll post it in the description of the video when we're done. So if you're going back and you're rewatching this and you're like, I want to see it, it'll be in the description of the video.
Word.
So.
Okay, so that's the my real quick, no preparation summary of levels. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to ask. Jeff, where do you get S1, S2, and S3? Okay, so those are a function of the pivot point indicator. So if you, let's see here, where do we have pivot? I pretty much keep them on nearly all of my charts here. Let's look at like a, do I have them on here?
I'm trying to see if I can even see yours, because they were on mine when I, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so essentially, are you on TC, Jeff? I'm going to assume you are. Okay, so you basically just, click add a plot. You search for pivot points. There they are. You can click on it. It's already on the chart, so I don't need to add it, but.
So if you're not on, he's not on TC 2000, I would have to ask somebody else. So if there's somebody who uses TradingView, yeah, TradingView or something else, where they get those levels, I'd guess it would be roughly the same. Add indicator. Just Google it, how to look up S1, R1, R2, R3, pivot points, and see what it gives you.
And honestly, so if you can, I'm trying to think of where I can put this. Let's look at this Google chart. I was trying to look at an illustration of why, maybe the open and the close might be important to have on your charts. Like if we look at this Google chart here, this blue dotted line right here is the opening print of the day, and that's what I watch throughout the day. And that for me is a pretty good gauge of whether I'm going to be bullish or bearish on a name. So, and you can see here, Google fought with this opening area for a good long portion of the day, chopping around. And the more, it busted through it here, and then it started fighting with it from the bottom before it lost it. And then we saw a precipitous drop. Like, these are important levels to watch. And, you can see here it ran up and hit the close, the prior day's close. Like, I'm sure Gator, you can confirm that once you start watching these things, you start realizing they're every bit as useful as moving averages and you can really use them to enhance your trading.
Oh yeah, it's like an exit point for me half the time. Like if you're in something, it's a hey, watch out for this level, wait for it to break. Sometimes it's you could get some volume through this level if you know a trigger is taking you through it. So there's a lot of different indicators, and every name acts differently. So like you get used to seeing how Tesla reacts around those levels, or if it hit it the first time in its support, like you might be like, oh man, why isn't this going? Why isn't this ripping? I feel like it should. Well, yesterday's close was right there, and it's like it's just obvious to see. It's like right on your charts. Like, oh, that was yesterday's close. No wonder it acted like that. And so it kind of gives you those indicators like, oh, I shouldn't have been long there. I should have waited for the breakout. I should have waited for a 5 minute breakout or a longer time frame, or needed to get above that level first and get all the shorts out or get all the longs out or something like that. If you want to talk in that, language, as it were, to kind of uh, put it there. So that it is key. And I have done it. And Jeff, by the way, you found it? Okay, I was gonna say Little Cash said in Discord, and he trades with it, I guess, with the Trading View, so you could hit him up in Discord. I'm sure he could tell you. But yeah, once you start using those levels, they're key, and they're selling points for like if I'm holding a runner, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna sell right here. It's sometimes a target. It's very important, and once you start using them, you definitely don't want to go without them because they're not like some of the trend lines that don't react. And like yesterday's close, yesterday's open, high and lows of the day are big levels that you need to know as a scalper and that you need to keep your eyes on and know where they're at. And even daily pivot points, if you're going to be one of those people that are trading past 11 o'clock, like sometimes I'm in here trading past, you need to know, if you're waiting for the next 15-minute breakout, you're waiting for the next hour breakout or something, or there's a big pivot or some type of level that's set up during the day, you can just click one of these things on your chart super fast and boom, you're ready to go. You know, you can sit back, zoom out on your chart, and wait for the name to get there if that was your plan. Or you can short off of that level. If you're watching it, it's not breaking through and the market's turning down, or it's hit that level and it's got some support and your stochastics are pointing up like we talked about in Google some today, you could go long off that level. Like if you look at Google on his chart right there, and if I go jump to mine, instead of CTs, I can go over to Google really quick and look at a 1 minute time frame. And this is like one of those Chase was asking today about picking. I gotta throw up my other chart. This one doesn't have my stochastics on it. There we go. So let me go over to, that's a horizontal line. If you're at a day low or something and you're getting a lot of bounce, was it day? It was right here. I don't have it on this chart because I don't use that chart for this. But, if it's hitting yesterday's close or it's hitting the opening level and it's bouncing off of it and then it comes back down, look at this stochastic point right here. This was a for sure long in Google based off the strategy we talked about. Like it went up, bounced off VWAP short. So here's your short using that strategy we talked about. Goes up, hits VWAP, falls down to, this was actually, it's not marked on this chart. I could turn it on. I'll leave it off for now, but I need to turn that on. Here we go. Today's opening line, there you go. So look at today's opening, and then look at this. So it's bouncing around on this level. Stochastics are up here, they cross down, it's shorts, they start curling back up, and you're coming back through the opening. So you're like, this area might be a good long, and you could have taken it long off here and kind of scalped a couple points there, or a point or 50 cents or something just on that quick pop, and then it chopped around for a little bit. But stuff like that is kind of an indicator. So like if I was shorting this here off of VWAP, because generally speaking you wouldn't want to go long when it's below VWAP, so it's below VWAP, your target is kind of day, like the opening print, because it could have some support there at the opening print. So it's just an extra level that you can use that can give you a lot of confidence.
Yeah, and you're like that level you're looking at right there where it comes up and you've got a couple of 1 minute candles that are, with wicks on top. You've got the VWAP, you've got the 2 minute 100, you've got the what is that, yesterday's
Yesterday's,
close.
yeah,
You've
yesterday's
got
close.
a whole lot of stuff going on there. So, if you see a couple of wicks like that, you're thinking, you know what, this is fighting with this area, that maybe I want to try, doing a range trade here to the short side. And, with the stochastics, starting to play games there, maybe somewhere, a couple candles later where the stochastics hurl down, you have like multiple indicators pointing to the short side and you want to take a little trade there. So that stuff's really important. And the more you play with it, the more you're gonna learn how to incorporate it into your trading.
And to like when some people ask, and it takes me a while to think about it, and I don't always have a quick answer, but like today, Chase was saying some about, well, how do you know what Google is doing, or how do you get a feel for certain things? Well, when I look at a chart, here's one thing I might look at during the middle of the day, and this is varies, and there's some stuff in there, other indicators. But one, it's like CT said, is up here. It hit all three of these. It got rejected, went down. So there's your short. It popped up, but it didn't go back up, and it never even retested these levels. And then with all this stochastic movement, the price barely moved. So it just hung out here. And if I remember correctly, the whole market was pulling, so technically Google was strong here. But then it eventually failed. It failed some. It popped up, but it didn't go all the way back up. And then you pretty much sell off, so you know it's kind of a weak, so you know it's a short at that point.
Okay, and Gator, that whole area there that you were just highlighting there, can you swap back to me for 1 second or
Yeah,
mark yesterday's low? Okay, I'm gonna try to actually just zoom in
yeah,
on that particular region there.
I can do it
Okay,
too, but
so yeah, you can see here, look at how we just keep popping up into this level and popping up into this level, and it keeps rejecting over and over and over again. That's yesterday's low, y'all. So, like, when you have these things on your chart and you're like trying to figure out why the price is acting like this, it explains it. There's not everybody is hyper scalping on a 1 minute chart. Some people are trading big time frames. So, being aware of what they're seeing and what they're trading can help you understand why we've got this chop here. Like, we've got rejection, we've got rejection, we've got rejection, rejection. And then when it really fails, then, it moves into a different channel here. So learning how to trade these ranges can just enhance your ability to make money on a choppy day.
yeah, you can sit there and kind of time that. Um, and that in Google would be hard, but in other names where you can kind of time it, you can learn how to take small size and sit there and scalp that little chop, like Geronimo was saying, like sell the rips and buy the, you could sell the rips when they kind of come up, and vice versa, and or sell the pops and buy the rips or whatever. And you can kind of sit there and play ranges with small size and scalp 10, 20, 30 cents a point sometimes. And if you're gonna sit there all day, you might as well actually do something. You actually start marking those levels. You might start seeing something on in your day that just helps you catch that move that gets you green. There's lots of days when I'm sitting there and maybe I'm flat or I'm red or whatever it is, and then you just notice something, whether it's like little Curbster was talking about today, like every time he was catching those stochastic plays in Google when it was the 1 and the 2 minute as it set up during the day, when they both set up at the same time is when he takes them. That's the safest way to play it. But when you time that up with levels, with the yesterday's close or a 200 or all this other stuff, it really starts getting not easy, but it gets a lot easier to feel confident in your day when you have a tool like that like you can find stuff to kind of scalp around, and even if it's every 15 minutes, make a point here, 50 cents here, and kind of get your day back or slowly build on your day. You just have to be careful not to tilt. Like, the personality, I think, of a midday trader changes from the early morning, like aggressiveness. Like, the reason a lot of us give back is not because you can't make money in the middle of the day, but it takes a different trader and or trading style to make money in the middle of the day. And so being able to learn, like, use these levels that CeeTee is posting here, like yesterday's high, yesterday's low, or hourly pivots or 15 minutes pivots and all this. Like, look at Google on his chart, just how it's perfectly right there for like most of the day. It was just sitting right there, and then it fell off at the end. You literally have that top right there. If you were a shorter or something, you could have shorted every time it hit it and failed, just because you had that repeated thing. So you can catch 50 cents on those shorts. You're like, well, I'm just going to short it on this level, and if it fails, I'm just going to sell really quick and maybe lose 50 cents to a point. But you catch 4 or 5 of those, that starts adding up, and it's that little level of like, what's the word? Like, the not the aggressive trader, but the more analytical trader. It's that type of analytical style, and you start adding stuff like that to your trading. And instead of bending into names and thinking you're going to catch the next massive drop, you start changing to just a 50 cents, 20 cents here, 10 cents here, smaller size, and let those things add up. And then who knows what happens later in the day? Maybe you get another flush that you can bend into.
And just like how stochastics will sometimes keep us out of like bending into something that would look otherwise good, these levels here can sometimes add or detract from your conviction. So it can keep you out of trouble if you are a trader like us that typically trades very aggressively and needs to have some additional things added into your analysis for that midday trading to keep you from I mean, sometimes the trade will look great, but the stochastics aren't lined up, and that'll keep you out of it. So um, it's also, I think, incumbent upon us as traders to constantly evolve and try new things. And that's how I came upon this. And clearly, other people are using this, and swing traders use this. People who are trading on bigger time frames. So the market doesn't move entirely upon on small time frame pivots and whatnot. There are bigger things at play, and we need to be aware of those as scalpers so that we can kind of refine our technique to constantly improve.
Completely agree. And doing that, I think, is what keeps you in the game. Because I found, so it's like, and I'm sure you, CT, you felt this way. I don't know how your week was. I think you said it was a good week, but
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it was an average. We talked about this, I think, throughout the week
mhm.
that, we have to adjust our expectations when the market's like this. But yeah, I tripled my week today. So
Yep.
today was a great day, and the rest of the week was like, it was good money, but it wasn't like, oh, wow, this is a great day. So
Yeah, and but being able to do that and to be able to be intelligent through the rest of the week, like if you are only a bender in your trading style, I think you're going to have, and by bender, if you're new to this or whatever, we mean very aggressive, leaning into things, tilting just like all in on everything. It's like if you're playing poker and you're just all in on every hand almost, like you're taking every possible thing that could be a setup. Um, it Those people, there are times when they're going to have the bigger days than most people. But the first half of this week, those people probably blew out. And last week, those people probably blew out. But if you could adjust and if you can trade intelligently earlier in the week, then you're going to randomly have the days like today when it's almost just easy. And I think I doubled my week today. Um, or maybe less. I didn't. It was a good day, and all that was just because you don't blow out earlier in the week, and because you trade more intelligently, and you're growing as a trader, and you're learning. Hey, and it's not that I don't love bending, but it's like I can learn to make money doing the smaller stuff, and then when the opportunity comes to bend, boom, I'm good. I'm going to do it hard, and then I'm going to slow back down, take my foot off the gas a little bit, and kind of just do this again. Find ways to grow as a trader, like you're talking about, and expand my abilities to see different things and make money on a smaller scale.
yeah, I mean, there's times when bending is incredibly profitable, but if you that way all the time, you are just going to be in a constant state of turmoil, like with big blowout days. And I've talked about this in Discord before that really once you learn how to be an effective scalper and execute upon level 2 and price action and moving averages, the next big challenge is learning how to adjust your trading style to the market conditions on a particular day, because you really cannot trade the same way every day. You need to be able to adapt your level of aggression to the market conditions. And, when the market's trading great, you can bend and just crush it. And if you act that way when, on a choppy day, you're just going to blow out and you're never going to make any headway in the, with the big picture.
And if you allow, some of these levels can really be key to helping you avoid that. Like I'm looking at your chart now and I see that line like later in the day in Google where it kind of hit and just bounced above it for a little bit before breaking through.
Yep, and then just tanked like once if you're watching that level right there, which is if we zoom out here, we can see what that was. So that right there, if you look back here, this is I mean, look at this low right here. That's what that level is. So it came down to that level and whipped back up, and that was a huge pivot point on the daily chart, and it was hovering above that level on the on this 2-minute chart here. And when it was clear that that was going to fail, like it failed big time.
Mm.
So those are those things that give you help you understand why the price action is acting a certain way. And that can so like when it does start to pick up momentum, oh gee, we just went through this huge level, now maybe I can bend real quick here and get a little more aggressive.
Yeah, and you can, what I do when those levels come, so if you look, or I'll switch over to my, just so I can show, and the reason, children, um, so I don't have it marked on my chart, so I'm going to go back and, well, actually just zoom in on that spot on yours. So zoom in there, and I'll move us out of the way really quick.
Okay, this sounds like a good time for me to go grab another drink. I'll be back.
Yep. So what I'm looking at here and how I play this, and hopefully y'all can see it, but on his chart, if you have that level marked, you know where it's at, and it almost hit. So I quit playing things to break out when I come, or break down in this case, when it comes near that level. So I'm going to see if I can mark it on my chart really quick just for the sake of like an easy, because I can jump over to mine and, oh, that is a moving average.
Do you want me to zoom in? I'm back.
Uh,
We've I've got Bollinger Bands, like all the moving averages.
Here, I'll jump over to mine really quick
Cool.
just because of the time. So my colors are a little bit more vibrant. I think on the background they're black. So if y'all can see this, this is, I drew that line too, and this is on the 1 minute. So if I was shorting Google up top here and it's coming down, at this point, if I had a big level like this marked on my chart and you guys are like, well, you timed that sell perfectly, or dude, like, how do you know to get out there, or something else like that, I was like, oh, I sold. Well, it's because I had like an A plus trigger marked, or I had a support level marked, or I had something like this marked on my chart that's like, yeah, I needed to get out before that hit. So if I was shorting here because Google was going down, the market was going down, and I was shorting Google later in the day, so I was talking like this in Amazon I was shorting. So if it was going down here and I took this, like, oh man, it could just keep going down forever. No, I probably, you sell when it's coming near one of these lines, it bounces. I probably don't play in this area because I know this is like a long-term support line. And there could be people, if you think about the market in like a what's the word, long, like the bigger picture market, people like Tesla today. There are people that bought at like day lows in Tesla that if this does end up being a bottom, which I don't know if it is or not, or even Amazon today, if you look at a daily chart of Amazon, just if this ended up being the low, like this was over here, and this level, like I had this mark, this actually ended up being support for a little bit in the day, and then there's another line here that it actually hit. If you had that, and then let's say Amazon goes up, I'd put a line here because if it ever comes back down here, there's a lot of people that might have stops here. There's a lot of people that might be buying here. There's a lot of institutional pressure that could be happening at this point. So if I'm ever shorting Amazon 2 years from now, and it's probably never, who knows? But if it was back down at this level, this would kind of be like one of those, I might need to sell before it goes through here. So going back to Google, how I look at these on a 1 minute time frame or a 2 minute time frame is I wait until a bigger moving average hits when it comes near these levels, if I even want to play the name again. So I wouldn't play the next 8-minute breakout, I think it might need a bigger time frame to go, so I'm going to wait for a 21 to hit. So a 21 hit, now I want the next 1-minute breakdown. Okay, well this 2-minute breakdown here is 5 points. Well, no, this is a 7-point drop in Google here. So 7 points is going to get you a point or two on your options, like I'm pretty sure. So you can play the next 1-minute breakdown after it hits the 21. Okay, it failed to break that level. No, it didn't perfectly hit it. It went down to it and it went back up. I'm not going to play the next 21 personally. I'm going to wait for the next highest time frame. And maybe that's the 100, so it hits, what's this, this is the 50. I don't really play the 50 that much, but, you could say I'm going to take the next 1 minute after the 50. That didn't go. It pops all the way back up. I'm not going to play that moving average again because it didn't flush to a new level. I'm going to play, then I would play the, whichever this is the 100. So now the 100 goes, and now I play the next 1 minute breakdown of that somewhere in here, and $50 says the stochastics match up to it, and then it goes down. And then it probably chops out here and you get out, but then it goes down and it flushes. So that's how I stop myself from bending. It's like if I know I'm near a level, like, a big level, a big area of support or something like that, I only allow myself like one trade entry per moving average. And then it goes all the way back up, and if it would have hit the 200 and then the market starts falling and you have all these other indicators showing that it could go down, like the Q's tanking, the stochastics curling down, all this other stuff, you add all that together, and then that kind of puts you that gives you that confidence that you need to kind of get in and out and know if there's support or if you're breaking support or if you're doing something like that. And so, oh man, it broke support, it broke that level. Okay, this is a big level. I'm going to enter as it breaks. Oh, it broke. You can see here 26, 22, 53. Oh, it's breaking that level. I'm going to buy as it breaks that level. Boom. And I catch that. Okay, it pops back up, and I play the next 1 minute 8. That's the last minute of the day, so you definitely, oh, man, taking Google with like under 50 seconds left.
Yeah, so yeah, Blade Man, that's exactly why why we're using these levels, is because ultimately the more you can understand about how the other participants in the market are viewing things, it just adds or detracts from your conviction and just helps you navigate these small time frames in a more effective manner. So this is just stuff to put on your list of things to start learning over time. I don't recommend that you try to do this as like a brand new trader, but once you learn how to lock in money every day, you can start adding new tools to your toolbox and making small tweaks to your strategies and the way you trade to just constantly refine your process, and that's different for everybody.
Yeah, and I'm not like, I wouldn't knock any of the other or anybody in our room who watches a ton of stuff, or people out there who do their own content or who talk about the different stuff. Like, all this stuff is good to know, but I mean, CeeTee and I fairly kind of started trading at the same level, or the same time frame, generally speaking, and we have similar method in that it's like I like to get really good at one or two things and really kind of understand those one or two things, and then grow from there and add things to it that make me even better at that and that increase my efficiency overall. And then I gain confidence in holding things longer. Or I maybe will eventually take a Tesla swing trade one day, you know. Or there's some stuff like that. But right now, not right now for me, but right now, especially if you're a younger person, or not even younger, and you're just trying to get confidence, you shouldn't be trying to do everything. You should be trying to do one or two things really, really well. And then, like CeeTee saying, add another tool. And I'm not saying don't add these levels. Like, obviously you can add these levels at any point in your skill, but slowly start adding things and start using things when they don't feel like it's too much. Because sometimes if you take on too much too soon, it's just like information overload. And you're just like, I don't know. This one's hitting the 21, and then this one's doing this, and I don't know what I'm. And so you're looking at so many different things, and it's like this guy's strategy's in my head, and he says every time that this, and then Big Gator saying this, and Boof and CT, and it's just like information overload, and it'll just completely get you wrecked. Like you need to build confidence in your ability as a trader, and what you can do really well, and then from there you kind of add, because if, and not if, when you start kind of having a hard time, you have a foundation to go back to, and you have an area to go back to. It's like these C strategies are so effective, I think, because they're just so stupid simple. It's like I can do them, you know. It's just like, oh, this is easy. And so if you can build that, then you can go from there and be like, oh, okay, well, this works for me. And using like Kelly's, the green takes red when it hits an inclining 2 minute 21. And oh, I can see this would work with the way I trade this. Gator's talking about the stochastics. Well, I like the stochastics when it coincides with this, this, and this, and it timed up with yesterday's high or low or this level. I like that entry. And you learn how to spot entries for yourself. And you learn how to grow as a trader and adapt as a trader. And that's really the benefit to kind of some of the stuff we're talking about and kind of going through these things. You don't have to do them all at once. You kind of can learn and learn how they help you get better.
Yes, and ultimately, as a trader, it's your job to constantly evolve and grow for your as long as you do this for your job. Like you're never just gonna be able to trade the same strat without evolving. Year in year out. A great mentor of ours used to tell us that nothing works forever. It might start working again sometime in the future, but you need to accept the fact that as a trader, your job is to constantly evolve and adapt. So if you can start to add in slowly, new things and constantly be learning and taking in, new strategies and whatnot, or new indicators, finding what works for you, finding what doesn't work for you. Maybe you start to see confluence between moving averages and daily levels or pivot points, and that just adds to your conviction. Whereas just the moving average on its own wouldn't, would only give you a certain amount of conviction. So um, this is just this is ultimately me adopting this type of stuff, and Gator adopting this kind of stuff. This is us just trying to push the boundaries of our trading ability, and we're constantly trying new things, and you should be doing that too, because that's how you can bring value to our community, and you can give back, and it all works. We're a big happy family.
We all get better and we all learn. And it's like, the stochastic stuff, little Curbster, and Curbster kind of came up with that. And how much money have I made off that? Geronimo's news flow stuff. The green takes red. We never used to trade the 2 minutes when I joined this room, and now the 2 minutes. Like if somebody was having a hard time, I'd say, you're taking the red takes green or green takes red, and that's the only trades you can take, and you're just going to take the first 2 or 3 of them, and then you're done for the day. Like you can easily go back to stuff like that. But how many of those things did we not do? And because people have been doing stuff and helping and proving that they work, we've started doing them.
I'm glad that you're finding value in this blade, man. I think that it's tough to balance, the more nuanced stuff with the more simple stuff. I know we have a wide range of traders in the group here, so
You got to keep everybody happy, or all the old people will be like, "You guys stink." That's why we got to be entertaining.
um,
You see Blake's comment in Discord?
yeah, I have not had any massive down days in my career of trading. The I think that my five-figure down days I can count on one hand, honestly, in my 2 years of trading. Um, I am pretty diligent about tracking my P&L, and I think the biggest drawdown I've ever had on my account is probably 10%, which was a result of like a big down day and me accidentally holding calls overnight on a position I forgot to close out. So, um, Yeah, that was not me. I'm thinking you must be thinking of somebody else.
Yeah, I've had big down days. Like I, am not gonna say like I've had times where because I didn't adapt, and that's why I've adapted now. That um, that's probably me, Sufyan, on my hands and toes. Honestly, like I've had a lot of five-figure down days, but it was because of the way I was trading, and I eventually got tired of it. And oh, yo, dude, the Russian bots. Hello, Russian bots.
Finally.
I know. I thought we weren't gonna get the Russian bots today. But it was like, I was like, I'm really tired of having these ups and downs, and so I just had to change. And it's like the what's it? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and it just got harder to make money sometimes. And then I got consistent, and I just it wasn't that I ever. It just like you were always at the point where you're like at the precipice. And then I hurt myself, and not hurt myself, but like bought a new house that you know and all that kind of stuff at the same time as I was having trouble. And thankfully, my dad helped me, and which was super helpful. And so having people around that can help is good. But like it can, once you have some of those days, like you just have to make the choice to start finding ways to change and to adapt. And if you don't, like you're gonna go through that roller coaster, and you're gonna look like the stochastics. Like that's what your trading's gonna look like, and that's what your like. If I go to like this is what your this right here is exactly what your permanent all-time P&L is gonna look like. These right here, whoop, a little bit up, boom. Okay, I'm finally good. Okay, now I'm gonna act stupid again. Boop, market changes. Oh, coming. Oh, nope, nope. And that's just gonna be you, and that's gonna be you mentally. But it doesn't have to be. That just means you're not growing, and you're not like recognizing what's getting you there. And every time you feel comfortable, you're making the same mistakes or similar mistakes instead of doing what got you back up here. You're doing the same thing you did last time this happened. And that's what I noticed I was doing, and I wasn't recognizing the market was changing. So, and I was coming in because I had so many like big days when Tesla was just running, or different names were running, or Scam PI was working and stuff. and and I had to be like, yo, I got to come into every day like it's a new day. And I just got to come in here and be like, hey, you lose 50 grand or 20 grand or something like that a couple of times, and you're like, oh, I can't keep doing this. And honestly, that's what it was for me.
Yeah, and we were talking about this, I think, to some people in Discord earlier today, that this is one of the reasons why it's really important to, log your days and keep track of what's happening with the big picture, because it can be really easy to block out the unpleasantness of remembering those things. But, when you've got them on, your trade log, and you have to look at them forever once it happens, it can be a great motivator to be disciplined and be professional, and realize that this we're not gamblers. We're not here to roll the dice. We're trying to make money on a consistent basis. And if you're doing something that is consistently causing you problems or big down days, there's probably something you can do to fix that. So I know, Gator, you're a Trader Sync guy too, right?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
a
so yeah,
big fan of it.
we both use that to track our trades and whatnot. And for new traders, that's great for keeping track of which strats are working and whatnot. But it also, just the simple calendar, or looking at your year in retrospect, if you have drawdowns and stuff, you're gonna have to look at those for the rest of the year. And so when you're having a down day, let's say you're down 5 grand, and you want to keep trading, you know, maybe you're going to think, wow, I would really hate to look at a $10,000 down day for the rest of the year. When I look at my trade log, it can keep you accountable, and keep you trading smart. So whereas if you just don't track those things at all, you can just block it out of your mind, and continue gambling and trading irresponsibly. So highly recommend that all new traders find some sort of way, or all traders at any level find some sort of way to track that stuff, because if you put it on your permanent record, then you know it's going to be there to remind you, and hopefully you'll learn from it instead of just blocking out the unpleasantness.
'Cause we said that today. It was like it's easy to lie to yourself, I think, and to be like, I'm not that bad, until you look back at what you actually just did, and you can't lie to yourself. And like, I can't do the trade for trade thing, but I can put in, and in Trader Sync, like my overall days, time of day, like 10:30, 11 o'clock, between 11 and 3, and then 3 to 4, like time frames, and just put a money figure in there, or even do that on a calendar or something. And that is good enough for me. And if I ever go down to not trading a lot, or I'm having a really hard time, then I'll start monitoring my trades. But I do hundreds of trades. But if you're new, and I'm going to talk about this in the next, like, my setup video, um, the stuff that you need, and a journal is definitely one of them. I think it's really key to success early on, and even as you go. Some type of, like, writing down a 5-figure red day or something is like double humiliating at the end of the day, because as you're putting 10 0 0 0, you're like, I did so many things wrong. It's like so many things.
Yeah, I mean, I had one pretty like awful day last week, and for sure, like having that, I think if I didn't log my trades and log my days and stuff, you know, it kept me honest this week, and I was conservative with my trading throughout the week when trading was challenging, and then today I hit the gas when it was easy. So it really is helpful, and I'm sure that if Gator and I both find it useful, I think you will probably find it useful too. Quickly, Dennis is asking if I'm full time trading. Um, so I kind of explained this in the beginning of the video that I spent about 8 months uh, trading very small tiers, not by necessity, but because I wanted to preserve my capital. Um, and I started out with a pretty decent sized account of about 50K, but I still traded very very small tiers for about 8 months while I learned. I think my max drawdown during that time period was maybe like $3,000 or $4,000. So I was very conservative, trying to preserve my capital. Um, I started to get consistent and with the small tiers, and truth be told, I was starting to run out of savings, so the pressure was on, like it was make or break. Um, and this is actually prescient to like what's been going on lately with market conditions. Is what I realized is that trading small tiers, I never really got my P&L to a place where I was going to make a living. So I would trade all day and a lot of times give my day back. So what worked for me is once I was good in the early morning, I tiered up in the early morning and logged off as soon as I was up money. And that right there was the turning point for me, where I would, spend 30 minutes, maybe 60 minutes trading, lock in the green. And, when trading was easy in the morning, and that was when I really started making money. There was one other question. I think Jason in the Discord was asking if I started in the Newsbeat community. I indeed did start in the Newsbeat community. That was my first trading room. But yeah, so trade at small tiers until you're consistent, especially in the early parts of the day. Don't tier up until you are consistent, and hopefully that answers your questions. Back to you.
Two parts of that to add on to what CT's saying. One is 30-minute. Like, if I wasn't in Discord, and if Mark was still in the room, there's a almost 0% chance that I would trade past an early green day. Like, very rarely. It would be like I would be green, and then I'm going to play with my kids, golf, do something else. Like, I'm going to go do something else. And that's what I was doing. And the only reason I'm not is I like trading with you guys. I like being in there. I like talking in chat. Geronimo, Eddie, CT, Boo. Like, I like being in here and hanging out. So I do. Um, and with sizing, it doesn't take a lot of size to wreck your day. And it doesn't take a lot of size to make your day. So if you guys are talking like, I don't know how much people need to make or want to make, but I could make a living with never going over 10 contracts. Like I made my day today and I never took over 10 contracts.
Yeah,
And
you can absolutely be like a mid six figure trader with 10 contracts.
yep, honestly, you could make $1 million a year not going over 10 contracts because $1 million a year is like 4,000. You need taxes and stuff, but you know, 5,000 or something. Uh, and you can do that every day. I'm not saying you can. You're gonna have down and all the other stuff, but the ability to make it with that amount of contracts is there. And if you're trading names like Google or Amazon, you could do it with 3 or 2. So the need to size up, yes, at some point you do grow, and I've said it before, but it has to be like natural. Like you just have the confidence to where you're not thinking, you're just sizing up. It's just like I'm gonna take more. I feel really good in what I'm doing, and it's almost like a secondary kind of like it just feels natural. Like CT was saying, he did it until he could feel comfortable, and you could kind of learn. And then you switched and you just sized up because you had to, and you got into it. But you built that confidence first. It's not like you came in and you were just like, here we go.
Yeah, honestly, good. Like if you're strapped for cash and you're trying to learn how to trade, you should probably get a job that pays your bills, because trying to trade while under the pressure of paying bills is not fun. Like you need to be able to trade with a clear head, and having pressure of like bills and whatnot and survival is not conducive to clear-headed trading, in my opinion. And the other thing I'm going to add is that a lot of, something that occurred to me is that we talk a lot about locking it in early, and just making your money early and getting out before the trading gets tough. Like your trading guru that is, in whatever room you're trading in or whatever group you're trading in, is probably there all day because it's their job to be all day and to be there all day. And Geronimo, I think, was talking the other day about how for the most of his trading career he'd be done by like 10 o'clock, 10:30. And it's perfectly acceptable to make your money and like log off and just enjoy your day. And we might hang out and chat because we're messing around, but you really got to be like know what you're doing to hold on to your day and not give it back. Like Gator was saying, like it doesn't take very many one contract trades in Amazon or Tesla to give back a big chunk of your day. So don't feel bad about logging off. And just because your guru's on all day doesn't mean that that's the best thing for your P&L.
Mm-hmm. It's entirely like it's not profitable until you're starting to add those tools to the tool shed to be there all day because decision fatigue. Like I accidentally bought calls instead of puts, or just random stuff, just seeing the wrong thing, or this is gonna work now. You lose focus and you go too aggressive, or you're not clear headed and your OODA loop is messed up, your decision making process is messed up. And when that's the case, guys, like you're you're going to give back your day. And even if you don't give back your day that day because maybe the market was just conducive to doing something, like it's pretty hard to lose money when it's just tanking. It's not impossible, but it's pretty hard. Or the PI was amazing. You're going to have days in the future that you just rewarded yourself for being an idiot. And now you're going to be an idiot when the market is not going to be conducive to that. And you're just going to be like, but it worked last time. And you're just going to keep going and digging that hole. And somebody in Discord, was it Blake? You said coming to back from 45,000. I've come back from $30,000 down days or more. And you know what I realized? I was like, dude, if I just didn't lose the 30,000 initially, I wouldn't have had to come back. So what am I doing wrong? And so I stopped being proud of coming back, even though I was, from whatever a big down day is for you, like 5-figure down days. And I was like, my goal now is to not be 5 figures down, because when a move happens, it's like instantly I recognize it. I recognize the tape printing differently, the level 2 speeding up. I recognize things changing, levels breaking in the market. I'm like, oh, and I can get into something, and I'm like, I don't have to start off every morning with 30 contracts of Tesla for a one and done. It's like I can just not trade for 5 minutes and wait for a good trend to set up and take some stuff. So it's really, thanks Josh. It's really important to realize that. And my goal changed because I got tired. I got sick and tired of being sick and tired and having to come back. And I was just like, why don't I just knock it down? That sounds so much better than sitting here all day. Like, I want to be able to just be like, I'm done and hit the exit button and be green, you know? I see CT, someone's got a question for you.
Okay, yeah. So Team Bronx, how did I fight the urge to push the envelope? Are you more of a conservative person? I find I gamble too much. Tracking my trades by strategy was super helpful in that. If I took a chase trade or something that really didn't fit the criteria of a proper setup, I'm gonna mark that trade and I'm gonna in my trade log software I'm gonna see how much money I'm losing on that. And you just really need to, like as Blade Man says, you got to treat this as a business. And I mean, if you're here to gamble, great, you're here to gamble, but do you really want to make money long term and have this be your career? If that's the case, you got to act like a business person and keep track of what's working, keep track of what isn't working, and follow the rules. And you have to be professional. Geronimo has been harping on it a lot lately that you got to be professional. This is a job. And stop screwing around, essentially. Like, keep track of what's working, follow the rules. And if you're logging your trades, you know what is working, you know what's not working. And you got to have some discipline if you really want to reap the rewards long term.
Discipline equals freedom. And Blade Man, that's like where, it will eventually catch up with you. And that lack of discipline, sure, you can grin down and get it done, but some days the market isn't going to give you the chance to make that money back. And you're going to keep trying, and that hole is going to be bigger than the 35 you were down is going to be 50 because you thought you were going to make it back doing what you did last time, and this time the market didn't give it to you. It's like doubling down on a losing trade. Yep, Jocko's the man. Um, and it really is like that discipline and consistency. It's not about gambling. Kelly said in the Discord, or not in Discord, in the VTF once, he was like, you have to look at trading as your job and as your career if you're going to be doing this. It's not me going to Vegas to have a good time. I'm not chasing a rush. I don't get a rush from making money in the market. I might, like, if you did a brain scan, but like I don't, generally speaking, I'm not out for that rush. And it's not about that. It's not about the high. It's not about telling your friends you made 20 grand or 2 grand in 5 minutes and doing all this other type of stuff. It's not about that. It can't be about that, I don't think, if you want to be consistent for a long period of time, because that lends itself to like a toxic mindset. This is a business. Like, I'm here to set a life for myself, to create, for my family, financial independence, and to allow myself to help my church, my community, the people around me. And like what CT was saying, like, to bounce off and continue what he was saying, like how I like kept away from that is I'm not here to gamble. Like the fighting the urge to gamble, when that comes, it's time to get off and log off and walk away, whether I'm up or down, because now, like, I'm not in my right OODA loop of just recognizing the trades and the stochastics and here's an entry point here, there you go, boom, nice trade, bad trade. Like, now it's like it's something else that's influencing my decisions, be it pride, gambling, the addiction, the whatever it is, and it's not the right motivator for taking a trade. So it's like step away and find a way to get back to 0-0.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that, Scott. As far as avoiding blow up days with having a max loss for the day, clearly everyone's going to be different with that. But I know that for me, having a max loss in my head is super useful. And Gator touched on this earlier. He was talking about I'm we've had days where we were down, for me, like maybe 15 grand or whatever, and I clawed back to green or whatever. It just would have been better in retrospect to not get down 15 grand and just to call it a day, because honestly, it's great that that day gave me the opportunity to make that money back. But if I think when I'm down 10 grand, oh, I'm just gonna 15 grand, I'll be my stop. Like, it might be a day where the market isn't conducive to me making that money back, and then I'm stuck with that down day. So you really have to think about those things and what you're reinforcing in your brain when you let yourself do that. And it feels great to claw back from a big down day, but if you just limit how far you get down and learn how to walk away, um, I think that it's probably more healthy long term for your success.
It definitely is. And Scott, you're saying like you have the strict like that strict dollar amount, and you tend to trade more poorly. I do too. The only time I come back from like I walk away and I come back is if I really don't care. And I don't mean don't care like if I lose more, but like I'm down. Let's see if there's a good setup. And if I can clearly sit down and be like, this looks like a good setup, and I'm not thinking about my down day, I trade more. If I'm like, if I look at it, and it's hard to do because I've kind of now switched to that. I don't have a max loss number, but I just generally speaking have like, I'm losing, I'm done type mentality now. And the reason I don't have a number, I don't think it's the right for everybody, but it's like, man, if I have a number for me, I'm going to take the size that'll get me there pretty quick. So it's like, man, I got 10K before I'm done today, or 5K, or whatever it is. I'm going to trade. And it's like, I'll trade in a way that could get me there, as opposed to just me trying to trade and just like, I'm making a good trade. I'm making a good trade. And it's so I just haven't been sizing up. So I've just been taking 10 contract trades. And so, generally speaking, on 10 contracts, not in Amazon or Google, you are not going to lose 5 points at a time. So, you'd have to lose on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trades, kind of, to get to the level of where it's like, dude, I'm losing a lot. I need to change what I'm doing. So, that's my approach. And then when I get near, and I think I might eventually set like a 10K day loss limit, um, just because I think that would be healthy. I don't know. It's something I'm working through right now as a trader. Like if I actually want to make that a level or not for myself, it probably would be good. I don't know.
I've gone back and forth on my philosophy with that, and I'm starting to lean more towards having a hard stop for the day, simply because you know the more consistent I get with my profitability, the more I think it's important to realize, like, yo, if you're down that much money, something's not working. So, like, putting your nose to the grindstone, like on a day when it's not conducive to making money, really worth it, or are you reinforcing bad habits? And everybody's going to be different with this stuff, and I think for new traders, having a hard stop is super important. But as you get better, you're gonna learn what works for you. But if you're consistently profitable on most days and you're having a big down day, something's not working. It might be the market, it might be your state of mind, it might be the strats that you're using on that particular day. But doing more of something that's not working, or doubling down when something's not working, is not going to make it work. So just recognize that and try to incorporate that into your plan, your business plan.
Yeah. And that's key to long-term success, is recognizing when things aren't working, and that things will work later, and it's okay if they're not working like right now. Like they don't have the market doesn't owe you anything. You don't have to make something right now. So like accepting that and just being like, well, this ain't it. Bye. I think is a healthy mindset to have, and accepting losses as part of the job can be a healthy thing. Like maybe if you have a 7-figure cushion, you can move up your maybe you don't need a daily stop loss, but honestly, I've talked to some guys in this room that have blown up 6-figure accounts recently, and I know some people that aren't trading right now because of some stuff that they've done, and it doesn't take long or many, even with 10 contract trading or whatever it is, or bad, it doesn't take long when you're tilting to go through a lot of money. So, if you start getting that way, you can always reach out to us and we'll always try to get you grounded. But if I'm just going to say, it doesn't take long to give it all back. It really doesn't. So having a hard stop, especially as a young, still learning, and which is me, having a hard stop trader is a good thing to have, and definitely isn't a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, it's not going to get you in trouble for sure. Having a hard stop.
No, no.
So Scott's asking or talking about having a trailing stop. That's essentially sort of what I do, and uh, to sort of like visualize the way I think about my P&L is I think about my P&L like a trade, and trades like when you're look. I don't know whose chart are we looking at. Yours. I
Mine.
don't
I
know.
can jump back to
Just
yours.
I'm trying to think of how to explain this here. So, let's just say that my P&L for the day starts. Let me try to stretch this out here. Let's say this is my P&L for the day, and I start down here and I lose a little money on my first trade of the day, and I make a money on a few trades, and then my P&L starts coming down a little bit. Like, for sure, I'm thinking about what the high of the day was and how far off the high of the day I am. And if I get to that 50% retracement level, for those of you who are fans of Fibonacci levels, that is when I'm like, wow, you know what? Like, if I was in a trade and it retraced 50%, I would probably chuck the damn thing. So, maybe it's 20% for you, Scott. Maybe it's 66%. You can pick a Fibonacci level if you like. But thinking about your P&L throughout the day as a trade, like, are you really going to hang on to a trade as it goes against you 80%, as it goes against you 20%, 30%, 40%? At what point in the day are you going to just realize, like, you know what, we're on the backside of the mountain, as Rose puts it, and call it a day. And I think that having a sort of trailing stop on your day is a great way to keep yourself from giving back too much. And it's really tough sometimes, as you start giving back, you're like, oh well, let me just take one more trade to try to get up a little bit higher. And you know what? When things stop working, they're stopping working for a reason, because the market's changing or because it's getting late in the day, and you just need to suck it up and realize that it's time to walk away.
Yep. And maybe it does rip back up like he's showing here, and maybe it doesn't. But I think it's a good way to look at your trading in your account and looking at it as a what?
Or maybe this happens, you know,
Yeah.
or maybe
Yes.
you really, or maybe you end the day down here.
Dude, that is realistic though. It's like it goes up and you're like, I got this. 50 contracts. Boom. And then you go back down, but like, man, all that extra work I did over the last 2 hours. Okay, I'm gonna get it back. And then you get back some of it. And like, okay, here we go. Crash. That's realistic. That's
and
what you're.
and honest I mean, honestly, like, I'm sure everybody who's been training for any period of time knows how awful it is to feel like when you're up big on the day, and then you end up red or whatever, like, and all you can think of, like, god, I would have been so much happier having half of what my day highs were. So, like, finding a trailing stop, if that's what it is, or viewing it like, if a trade retraces 50%, you really want to stay in that trade, or are you just going to chuck it? Like, think about it the way in terms of candlesticks, if that helps. I don't know. Just trying to think of ways for people to visualize, why are you sticking? Why are you still in this, like, situation if it's just going against you and ticking down and down and down? You know, be smart about it and conserve your green. Nothing feels worse than going green to red. Good lord.
And what I tell myself right now, and what I've been saying every day, is like, if I get to 5 grand, I'm like, that's $1 million. And I don't look at it. I'm not looking at it like I'm not saying I'm gonna make them, have red and all this stuff. But what I tell myself is, man, every day if I do this, that's $1 million. So every day I hit that, I'm just like, that's $1 million. That's $1 million. So I'm not thinking about it like, because I think we sometimes get, and you could do 500, you could do 1,000, you could do 2,000, scale it to your size. I'm talking me. Um, and I'd be like, man, okay. But I think about it and like, man, I could get 50. And I think about it in such a short time frame, like what I can make today, and I don't realize in the moment, like, oh, 5 grand. If I log out right now and I do this every day, I'm gonna make $1 million by the end of the year. And so I've started saying that to myself, especially if I get over. Like if I hit 5 figures, I'm not really even trying for the next 20 anymore, or the bigger day, unless it's like a massive trend that's just going. I'm not going to stop trading it. Then when it's done, I'm like, oh, that's 12 grand. That's a pretty good day. Okay. Tear down everything, 10% size, rest of the day, unless something else triggers. I'm locking it in. And at that point, I'm changing my mindset, and I tell myself that's $1 million a year, and that's all I say. And so I'm reinforcing those numbers that I feel, and I don't feel they're small because I realize how much they actually are. And so I I realize how much money that can be to some people. And I've talked about video game money before, and it's a lot of money to me too. But I've had 30 grand days and 50 grand days, and I've had 30 grand negative days and 50 grand negative days. And so learning to kind of look at a 5 grand day and be like, that's $1 million, and then getting off to me is like changing my mindset to that of catching more money, whatever more money is to you, to just, this is doing it, this is good. And just reinforcing that positive nature of just getting off when you get to that point. It's like if your annual goal is to be a full-time trader next year and you need to make 6 figures to do it. Let's say you needed to make 100,000. Whatever that daily number is, if somebody's good at math and wants to throw it up, I've said it before, it might be like 500 or $1,000 a day or something. And I'm not saying you should have that as a target, but when you get there, or when you get above it and then you come back down to it, instead of being like, man, I'm down 50%, instead of you say, hey, that's 100,000. Next year I'm going to be doing this full time. Log out. That's what I'm doing, like mentally every day to get myself there. 500 little cash. Yeah. $500 a day gets you $100,000 a year.
I mean, 125,000 if we really want to be.
There, yeah, if you really want to be specific.
But yeah, I mean, keeping those long-term goals and consistency in mind, because obviously when you're having a big up day and you're up 10, 15 grand, you're like, oh man, maybe I should, I'd love to get to 20 grand. That would feel awesome. And um, then you start ticking down or whatever. Consistency is what's going to pay the bills long term, and having big up days and big down days is just really bad for your state of mind. It's way better to have mid-range consistency over the long term than have big up days and big down days. It's just going to be easier to wake up in the morning, easier to come into the market. You're going to have a clearer head, and you cannot understate how important your mindset is. So don't try to make it all in one day. Have the big picture in mind, and just realize, like Gator said, that small to mid-range days add up over time.
You're welcome,
And
Bugs. I was just telling him he's heading out. Good job.
oh yeah, so
So,
yeah, just keep in mind that by doing this, for a year, then next year, you can take it up a notch, and just keep your mindset healthy and keep the big long-term goals in mind.
yep. And I know we've been going on long here, so I forgot what I was going to say. Actually, I was going to be like, hey, if you hang out this long, I've got this little tidbit for you, so maybe it'll come back to my head. Um, but it is, and those little things. Oh, digging yourself out of a hole. I'm sure I'll talk about this at a different video. But if you want to dig yourself out of a hole because you put yourself in a hole and you're blowing up your account, later, Bronx. I'll catch you around, man. Looking forward
Later,
to having
Bronx.
you back. And you can, and you can step back. And I say I just said 5 grand is a million. 500 is like 125,000 a year. So if you can stop when you're blowing out your account, and how do you get out of it? You get out of it by doing just that, those small base hits, and be like, this is this is getting this back. And how I get out of those holes and got out of those holes wasn't by hitting a home run the next day to get myself out of that situation. It was like, all right, like, let's say, because I said, hypothetically, I lost 50 grand. It's like, well, okay, I got to make 50 the next day. No, no, that's a recipe for going down 100 grand or whatever. Or, if you're a small account and you lost 10 grand, let's say you were up at 25 and then you lost down to 15, so now you're under PDT. The, the trick isn't, oh man, I'm going to try to get it all back right now or whatever. It's like, how much I'm up $500. I lost 50 grand. I'm up 5 grand. 10 more days, 9 more days. This is only 10 days. This before the end of the month, I can get back. Before the end of this, I can get back. It'll only be a month or so, and I'll get back. And you change your mindset to like it has to happen to tomorrow. To I got this, and you just start creating consistency again. It's gonna
And you
come
might find
faster.
that when you might find that when you're chipping away little by little, a day like today comes along, which just fixes everything. So, and that's because you preserved your mindset and you're trading smart. So,
Yep. Every day, all day, and that's what you got to do. Doing that's what's going to protect you. Um, been about an hour and a half. Usually we go about an hour. I don't know if there are any questions. I don't know how much. I know CT, you're bacheloring it up this weekend.
I had no idea. I don't have any way to keep track in our current setup.
I can
That's
see
a
it.
long time. I know
Yes.
that people are suffering.
Yeah, people listening to us are probably like, dude, these guys, these
Will they ever
guys.
shut up?
It's like, I need a drink. It's like, I don't want to be rude and log off for their view count, but nobody's listening anymore. No, I appreciate you guys hanging out and watching. I could
If you
talk.
enjoyed the show, be sure to hit the like button.
Yep. Like, share, subscribe. If CT had a channel, I'd be like, go follow him, and next show we do is going to be on his channel. Scott, you're drinking. That's the only way you can listen to us for an hour and a half.
It's good to unwind on a Friday night after a week like this.
It was a
But yeah,
tough
it's
week.
we have been going apparently if it's been an hour and a half. If anybody else has any questions,
Yeah, I'll give it a second to see if any questions come in. Um, I'm not gonna. I don't think we'll talk about swing trades or anything like that tonight. Maybe I'll hit that next week when we see what. We could do a 4-hour show. Tell you what, you send me a good bottle that I can sit here and drink for 4 hours.
Con, I would be happy to go through that on an upcoming show, 100%. Maybe we can schedule that sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, whenever. I mean, I do shows, guys, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I know that Lord willing and Vice that nothing crazy happens with like my kids, my wife, family, other stuff like that. But yeah, we can definitely hit that and even record some screen and share what we're looking at. Like I don't know if you can probably do it too. We can record our screens and then be like, this is what I was thinking when the level 2 started speeding up and stuff like that to kind of give you guys like kind of a basic of that. It's kind of hard to talk through without watching it. But honestly, if you watch us in Discord, and maybe we can share screen there sometimes, like, you can see what we're saying. Like CT, me, whatever, it's like, this is happening. You can watch the level 2 when we're talking about entries and stuff like that and what we were seeing. You can ask us kind of live in Discord.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to start recording more of my days where you can see the charts and the level two and everything, so that if we do want to discuss stuff, we'll have a way to go back through that. I know you're already doing that, Gator, but yeah, I'll try to step it up here.
Nah, you're good. Yeah, I'm still in Maryland, Scott. I leave in June. Lord willing, I sell my house and everything happens and I don't blow out. Another reason I can't blow out, it's like I've got a very a house that I bought and all this other stuff and trying to sell this house and double mortgage and all this other stuff. It's like shh. Life choices, man. Thank you guys though for hanging out. CT, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
You are literally welcome anytime. If you guys want to hear more, let CT know. Let me know. Like, share, subscribe. Let us know that you enjoy this. I appreciate you hanging out, spending an hour and a half of your time. If you've rewatched it, and you hung out this long, I appreciate it. We'll be doing more. I'm sure CT will be back in the future. Rose, some of the other rotation crew can come on too, and their shows every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you guys want to hang out with me, I'll be here, and we will continue to keep chipping away. Trade smart, trade intelligently, continue to improve, guys. Enjoy your weekend, detach from the market, relax, and I will see you all on Monday.
Cheers, all.
Cheers.